Adam Duvall should get another chance in Boston. Tune into today's episode of Locked On Red Sox as I break down the season he had and explain why he should be given another chance in a Red Sox uniform next year.
You are Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Gabby, former ESPN social media associate and current host of the Boston Balling podcast, here to bring you the latest in all things Boston Red Sox, Monday through Friday, straight to your favorite podcast feed. And also, SiriusXM has you covered for all the broadcasts of every Red Sox game. Just download the SXM app and search Red Sox, and you can catch the home broadcast of every game into 2024, so you don't have to miss a single pitch of Red Sox baseball. Today's episode is brought to you by Sleeper. Swing for the fences on Sleeper picks, and you could win up to 100 times your money. Download the Sleeper app and use promo code LOCKEDON, and you'll get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 30 states. Check out Sleeper today. Happy Monday, or maybe not so happy, as the Red Sox dropped yet another series over the weekend, this time at home. They had plenty of opportunities offensively to capitalize, and they just could not get the job done. It was definitely a bit of a wonky series in a couple different ways, so I'm going to be diving into all of it on today's episode, as well as discussing the many roster moves that the Red Sox made over the weekend. They were pretty busy at the Worcester level and at the major league level with bringing players back, so I'm going to break down all of that for you, as well as discussing a player who's grown to be well-liked overall among the Red Sox fan base this season, should the Red Sox bring him back next year. I'm going to be discussing all of that on today's episode, but first I have to start with, what was even Saturday's game? Like, what was that game? I mean, it was a 0-0 game for so long, and then in the top of the ninth inning, Luis Robert just squeaks a home run right over the pesky pole with 2 outs in the ninth inning. It just was such a wonky game, and totally the type of game that the Red Sox would lose. They had their opportunities on Saturday night to score, and they just could not capitalize with runners on base, which has been such a story for Boston this year. I mean, imagine having to sit there and watch a game that's 0-0 for pretty much the entire game, and then you see this home run hit that's like barely a home run. It's just wild to me. He had it. Winckowski had it, and then it just barely squeaked over the pesky pole. Was a 311-foot home run by Luis Robert Jr. Nick Pivetta actually pitched well on Saturday. Went 7 innings, giving up only 3 hits and no runs, and recorded 7 strikeouts. I mean, he's really made a case for himself this season that he belongs on this team. In what capacity, the Red Sox are still trying to figure that out. I've been a big fan of Pivetta in the bullpen. I've been pretty vocal about that. He has been lethal out of the pen. He's improved as a starter for sure, and I believe he's gaining more confidence on the mound as a starter. But in terms of a permanent role with this team, I think he's much better off being a bullpen piece, but that's something the Red Sox will have to figure out as they kind of continue to build next year's roster and figure out who's going to be on the team and who's not. But coming in for him in the game after the strong 7 innings he pitched was Josh Winckowski, and I said after Pivetta finished his 7 innings, hey, they better win this game for Pivetta, because he just pitched a gem, 7 innings and a shutout, and this offense can't score for him. Heartbreaking to see. If the Red Sox were in playoff contention, I would have been so much more mad about the result of this game. But Winckowski came in and pitched the 8th inning And then it showed Kenley Jansen warming up in the bullpen when the Red Sox were hitting in the 8th inning. Had Boston taken the lead then, I think we see Kenley pitching the 9th. But I was surprised that they brought Winckowski back in, even in the tie game. I thought there was a chance they would see Jansen pitch the 9th because there wasn't an opportunity after that for a save situation. So if you're going to have Jansen pitch, do you want to do it at that point and keep the game tied to give your team a chance to walk it off in the bottom of the 9th inning? So I was definitely a little bit interested in that choice. Obviously, it ended up backfiring because Winckowski ended up giving up what ended up being the game-winning home run to Luis Robert. That was absolutely, I mean, when I say this was just a weak, like sneaky home run that barely got over the pesky pole to the fair side, it really was. It was so close. And that was the extent of the scoring in the game. So obviously, you question the manager and the decisions they make. It was an obvious choice to bring in Jansen if the Red Sox in the bottom of the 8th had taken the lead, but maybe he trusted that Winckowski could get through the 9th inning, give the Red Sox a chance to walk it off. And then if they don't walk it off in the 9th and it goes to extras, then Kenley pitches. But I was definitely a little bit surprised by that. And then the Red Sox offense, they're to blame for that game, though. 10 runners left on base and 0 for 10 with runners in scoring position. So it's not like they had their chances. Like the offense had opportunities to score and could not put it together. So that was an overall frustrating game from that standpoint. So looking back at that decision of bringing Winckowski back in for the 9th and it backfiring, I mean, yeah, that sucks. But the offense gave them absolutely no room for breathing room. So just an odd game overall. And then Sunday's game was even odder. It was cut short due to rain after the 6th inning, first of all, which was a little disappointing because the Red Sox have just been absolutely plagued with rain this year. So it was disappointing that they had yet another game that, had to be cut short due to rain. Kutter Crawford pitched 5.1 innings, giving up 4 hits and 3 earned runs in 7 Ks, but the problem was 3 walks. The Red Sox starting pitching lately has had a problem with walks, and it's come back to bite them. He gave up 2 walks in 1 inning, and both of those runs scored. So when you have those types of situations where you're giving up free passes, the chances are very high that they're going to come back to bite you. So sure enough, as a result, those 2 runs scored. And then ultimately, the White Sox ended up winning 3-2. They, were up after the 6th inning. The tarp came on the field. They did about an hour or so rain delay and then called the game. Very upsetting. I thought the Red Sox had the momentum on their side because Adam Duvall absolutely crushed a home run out of Fenway Park in the bottom of the 6th inning, like smashed. I don't even know where it went. It was just out of the ballpark immediately, instantly. Crushed a home run to make it a 3-2 game when the Red Sox were down 3-1 right before the inning ended and they had to put the tarp on the field. So it was disappointing because I would have loved to see how that game would have played out. It felt to me like the Red Sox had momentum. But again, they left 4 runners on base in the game and went 0 for 6 with runners in scoring position. So I wouldn't have been surprised, really, again, if they failed to come through after that in the later innings. But that's the bummer about these rain delays. You never really know how the game's going to end. And then when they had to call it, it was definitely super irritating because I would have loved to, see how that would have played out. But it is what it is. The Red Sox lost the series. They should have won the series, especially Saturday's game. They should have been able to win with all the opportunities they had with runners on base. I mean, and then Chris Murphy pitched 0.2 innings, giving up 0 hits and 0 earned runs because he came in to fill in for Kutter Crawford essentially in relief after he got pulled. And one thing I want to say about Kutter Crawford is he's really starting to look like a pitcher who can be part of this rotation longer term. He's really starting to show that growth and show that development. And I would like it if the Red Sox keep him in the rotation next season, because he's really starting to shape into the type of guy who could be reliable in the rotation. So overall, a very not fun series for the Red Sox. Again, the offense failing to come through on multiple occasions, but story of the season, right? Coming up, I'm going to be talking about the absolute plethora of roster moves the Red Sox made this weekend. They were busy all 3 days with transitioning people back who had been out for a little while. So I'm going to be going over all of those moves next. Who doesn't love DoorDash? Are you missing the syrup for your pancakes or just ran out of your favorite coffee creamer? With DoorDash grocery delivery, you can get what you want right when you need it. You've trusted DoorDash to deliver your restaurant favorites, and now you can get grocery delivery that actually delivers too. Get 50% off your first DoorDash order up to a $20 value when you use code LOCKEDONMLB at checkout. Limited time offer, terms apply. That's 50% off up to $20 and no minimum subtotal and zero delivery fees on your first order when you download the DoorDash app in the App Store and enter code LOCKEDONMLB. Don't forget, that's code LOCKEDONMLB for 50% off your first order with DoorDash. I'm a huge DoorDash fan, and if you're anything like me when you get home from a long workday and like to just plot down on your couch and watch Red Sox baseball or football now that it's NFL season again, you don't really feel like cooking dinner sometimes. And if you feel like you're missing something for a quick meal you might want to make, DoorDash can easily cover you and deliver you some groceries right to your door to make it so much easier so that you can maybe even get some of those frozen meals where all you have to do is just quickly heat it up. So I am a big fan of DoorDash, and the grocery delivery service makes things so much easier. Don't forget to download the SiriusXM app and search Red Sox. And you can get the home broadcast of every Red Sox game so that for this last week of the season, you can enjoy it while it lasts, having baseball and not have to miss a single pitch of any game. And in 2024, when they are hopefully a much better team, you really won't want to miss a single pitch. So get ahead of that. Download the SiriusXM app, search Red Sox, and they will have you covered for all Red Sox home broadcasts. Speaking of the Red Sox, they were so busy this weekend with roster moves. They made quite a few moves with players who had been out and players getting sent down to AAA. So I wanted to just go over what all of those roster moves were. So on Friday, they had to send infielder Luis Urías to the 10-day injured list with a left calf strain. He has overall been very wishy-washy for the team this season. He shows that he has the potential to hit. His fielding hasn't been all there, but I think it's improved a little bit. He hasn't made a huge impact for me, but I think he can with more time. So unfortunately, the left calf strain got sent to the injured list, so won't play again this season. The corresponding move was they called up Enmanuel Valdez again from Worcester. I give this kid props. He's been moved back and forth between Worcester and the majors quite a bit this season, especially, and he's really embraced it and really just put in the effort and the work. And it's showing. His results on the field and the impact he's making is showing. He's really putting up with all of these moves that the Red Sox have made and calling him back up, sending him back down. The Red Sox did acquire him in 2022 in the Christian Vasquez trade. When they traded him to the Astros, they brought Valdez in, and he's been impressive ever since. He went 2 for 4 with a double on Saturday and 1 for 2 with a double on Sunday. So he's definitely showing his ability to have the talent level to compete at the major league level. Whether he definitely will pan out, I still believe it's too soon to say, but I truly also feel like he can be a key part of this team moving forward once they really shape out what that infield is going to look like. I think there's a good chance that we see Valdez in there in a more permanent spot, and the better he plays over this next week, the more likely possibility that is. But on the flip side of that, the better he plays over this next week, that makes it a better possibility that they could trade him too, because if his hitting value is high, then they might want to see what the options are for him and just explore any other teams that might be interested in biting on him and acquiring him, because he has the talent level and I do think he can succeed wherever he goes. So it'll be interesting to see during the offseason if he's somebody who gets thrown into a trade package for Boston. But either way, I've been impressed with what I've seen from him over the weekend. So he deserves the opportunity to continue to showcase his skills. On Saturday, the Red Sox reactivated Kenley Jansen from the COVID list. We knew this was going to be happening. The COVID IL doesn't keep a player out for that long as they test negative and can come back. So he was reactivated on Saturday. So the corresponding move for that was they optioned Zach Weiss back to Worcester. Look, I've been impressed with Weiss so far in his time pitching here. It's a small sample size. He's only pitched in a few games for Boston so far, but I really like what I've seen from him as a whole. He's just had some clean outings where he's not giving up any runs. And when he has base traffic, he's been able to clean it up. The Red Sox had recently acquired him. They picked him up after he was DFA'd by the Angels. And I do like overall just the potential that he brings to the Red Sox bullpen. And it's nice to have a guy who can be reliable out of the pen, because there's a mix of guys who are and a mix of guys who aren't. And if we can throw Zach Weiss into the category of players who can be reliable moving forward, that's definitely a plus for the Red Sox. So I expect him to have some more time, maybe being shifted, being called up, being called back down throughout his tenure, but he definitely has shown potential. And Kenley Jansen, I mean, he's old, he's on the back end of his career now. He's starting to not really have what he's had before. What we saw when he was with the Dodgers was just prime Jansen, unhittable basically as a closer. That's not so much the case anymore. I think the Red Sox need to invest in a new closer that's going to be a longer term option, as opposed to this short stint of bringing guys in for a year and hoping that they pan out. They need to invest in a long-term closer, and hopefully they do that. But it was nice to see Kenley come in here and really take on a leadership role with the Red Sox this year, because he's been somebody who has the experience and I'm sure has helped guide some of the younger pitchers during his tenure with this team. So try to get a real closer, but I do like Kenley as a whole, and obviously he's just had a remarkable career. He just doesn't have it anymore. On Sunday, the Red Sox reinstated pitcher Zack Kelly from the 60-day IL. He pitched in 6 games for the Red Sox when the season started, to the tune of a .368 earned run average, before being sent to the IL with right elbow injury and eventually needing surgery for it. Him being the pitcher that he is, I mean, he's been efficient when he was called upon. He held opposing hitters to a .240 average over 7.1 innings. So then the elbow injury came up and he wasn't able to play the rest of the season. I think the reason for the Red Sox calling him back up now was to provide him with a little bit of a sense of confidence, so that if he can get some reps in now in this last week of the season, he can feel more confident going into 2024, because now the goal should just be 2024, focusing on that. What can we do to prepare ourselves best for 2024 and put ourselves in a place where we can be a contending team next year? So that's the goal. I believe that was the thought process behind him being called back up this late in the season. Just get him some reps in so that he can develop some of that confidence going into next year. They DFA'd Kyle Barraclough, which is probably good news for most. He pitched 3 games, 7.2 innings for the Red Sox in 2023 to a .1291 earned run average. He was an absolute mess, and Alex Cora kind of left him out there to die in one of the games, essentially, like just completely did not have it. And Cora didn't have anybody warming up, and it was just him. And my gosh, was it a disaster. He absolutely imploded. There was no, from the looks of it, sense of moving him or bringing somebody else into that game. So it was pretty awful. So he got optioned after that to AAA and is now gone. He's been DFA'd. Hopefully we will never see him again. So that's probably good news. But what else was interesting about this move was Nick Robertson got optioned back to Worcester. And look, like, this kid still needs more experience. Obviously, I'm not expecting him to be a star-studded player right now, but he has definitely shown very good glimpses of being a solid reliever for the Red Sox moving forward. So if you look at Nick Robertson and you look at Zach Weiss, those two guys are players out of the bullpen that you can be excited about moving forward to really help enhance that pen that already this year was better than they were last year overall until everybody got overtired, which I've talked about so much already. But I'm a fan of Nick Robertson. He definitely has the potential. He hasn't really had many implosions since he's been on the mound. The Red Sox just acquired him at the trade deadline. So again, still a small sample size with him. But if he continues to pitch the way that he has, that's definitely a good talent that Chaim Bloom and the Red Sox identified in him. So lots of roster moves from the weekend, getting some guys back in there to kind of hopefully finish off the season strong with the Red Sox and develop some personal confidence going into next year, because that'll be huge. Coming up, he was a star player for the Red Sox this season, went on absolutely hot tears both when the season started and also relatively recently. Should the Red Sox bring him back next year? You might have guessed him, Adam Duvall. I'm going to be touching on him coming up next. The MLB playoffs are around the corner, which means the clock is ticking on your chance to 100 times your cash on daily fantasy baseball. Baseball has never been more exciting than it is now, with studs like Acuna, Betts, and Ohtani. Pick more or less on stats for these stars like home runs, hits, strikeouts, and more for up to a 100 times payout on Sleeper. Get your picks right and you could win big. Use promo code LOCKEDON and you'll get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. I tell you, Sleeper is fantastic. One of the things I love most about the app is that they make it so simple to make picks. All you have to do is just make a few picks like, oh, how many home runs will Mookie Betts hit today? 2? Sure. Probably not, but, that's stretching it. But do you think he's going to hit a home run that day? I'd say the chances are pretty high. So pick that. Make that pick. Sleeper is the go-to app for fantasy baseball. I don't recommend going anywhere else. They will have you covered. And you know who else has you covered? SiriusXM. For the Red Sox home broadcast of every game for free so that you don't have to miss a single pitch. Just download the SiriusXM app and search Red Sox and you can catch the home broadcast of every single game straight to your feed so that you don't have to miss a single pitch of Red Sox baseball. And trust me, next year I think it'll be fun, especially if they hold on to this guy, Adam Duvall. The Red Sox should bring Adam Duvall back in 2024. He's currently on a $7 million 1-year deal with the Red Sox. But, I think the Red Sox could use him. He's been a really valuable player for the team this year, especially offensively. I mean, he's made a huge difference. Currently, he's batting .248 with a .304 on base percentage and .528 slugging with an .833 OPS. So his offensive impact for this Red Sox team has been huge. He was on an absolute tear in April before he got injured and missed a good portion of the season. But when he's been here, he's made a lot of noise offensively for Boston. And so I, have really enjoyed watching him play on this team. I believe that what he's done for the Red Sox makes sense for him to come back. And I don't think it needs to be anything major. Maybe like something similar, maybe another $7 million year, for 2024, and just offer him just a similar amount of money just to hang on to him for another year. A lot of this depends on what they do with the outfield, whether they decide to trade for Dugo or what happens there. But I do think Duvall is somebody worth bringing back for another year. Do I think he's going to digress in 2024 relative to how he performed in 2023? No, I think it'll be about the same. I don't expect a big decline, but he has just been a major impact player this year. And he also is a veteran that has experience. And with the Red Sox being as young of a team as they are, especially going into next season, if they have players like Rafaela or Valdez or Abreu on the opening day roster, you're looking at a collectively young team to go along with Rafael Devers, Jaron Duran, Tristan Casas, you name it. These are young players. So having that veteran experience mixed in is going to be huge. And Trevor Story is a veteran, so he's good to have around. But Adam Duvall is another guy who you can count on out of the clubhouse to be a more experienced player for the younger guys to look up to. I'd rather keep Duvall and trade Verdugo. I think there's some value with Verdugo. Obviously, he hasn't had the best season this year, and the attitude problems could end up being an issue when it comes to trading him. But I do think there's some value there if you package in another high leverage player. The Red Sox need to be able to package him in with somebody else who can also provide value for a team if they want to get rid of Verdugo. But I'd rather have it be Duran, Duvall, Yoshida, and Abreu primarily in the outfield, and then with Refsnyder kind of filling in here and there too. That to me would be the outfield that I like. I think Verdugo's the odd man out in the situation. Adam Duvall, when you think about him in the season he's had, he was in a cold slump as of late, but he needed that home run on Sunday. That was a absolute cannon of a home run. And just overall has been hitting well over, the last few days. So I say the Red Sox should bring him back. I mean, I think there's going to be a lot of mixed feelings on that because he is on the older side. So he may not provide the same value or impact that he did this season. But I think he's really warmed up to Fenway and he's gotten to the point where he's really learned how to hit there. And that serves players well because if you're able to hit at Fenway, you can really find success. Because if you look at Trevor Story, he has not been able to find success at the plate, and the Red Sox have him for a few more years. So, what do they do with that situation? That's a conversation for another time. But clearly, he's coming off of a ballpark that was a very hitter-friendly ballpark previously because Colorado is a hitter-friendly ballpark. So to come to the Boston Red Sox and have to readapt, it's just hard for him, But Adam Duvall was able to adapt pretty much right away to being in Boston and to hitting at Fenway. So to me, it makes sense to keep him and bring him back, even again, if it's just on another 1-year deal for around a similar amount of money. He might want more than that and might go elsewhere if another team offers him a 2-year deal. But I think it would be silly for the Red Sox to not at least try to bring him back because he's just been really valuable. And I think the Red Sox will be better off if they do decide to bring him back because personality-wise, he seems like a great guy to have around this clubhouse. So as the Red Sox are looking to build their roster for 2024, I am asking whoever comes over and takes over for Chaim Bloom that they please at least consider bringing back Adam Duvall because he should be a member of the Boston Red Sox in 2024. As hard as it is right now, just continue to keep the faith. A few more games left, and then we have an offseason to look forward to that hopefully is very productive for the Red Sox. But keep the faith, or at least try to. Go Red Sox, and I will catch you on the flip side.